Welcome to today's teaching. This video brings together two young men who are students of the Word, not teachers by title, but brothers walking out their faith in Yahweh. They share not from lofty positions or credentials, but from their own personal experiences and what they've learned in the Scriptures. The topic is, what is love? And distractions, part 2. So often we use the word love to describe our feelings, but is that really the full picture? Love, according to the Word of Yahweh, is deeper, richer, and more costly than emotions alone. And while love calls us higher, distractions can easily rob us of our goals, our focus, and most importantly, our relationship with Yahweh. In this second part, they will go even deeper, sharing more examples, more insights, and more encouragement for your daily walk. Their heart is not to instruct you as formal teachers, but to walk beside you as brothers, encouraging you to press on in faith and stay focused on the path Yahweh has set before you. So, join in, listen closely, and let's grow together in His Word.
All right. Come on. Praise the Most High. Praise y'all. Man, we are here together. I know this is a rare thing. Most High willing, we can do this more often.
Oh, yeah, it seems like that's the trend right now.
Yes. By the title, as you can see, me and my brother, we did our lessons. I did mine 2 weeks ago. He did his last week. And we just about to put it together and see how it flows, like how it goes. Mass is mostly dealing with distractions, and brothers was dealing with
love, the scriptural meaning of love.
yeah.
And I think putting it together, you're going to find out they go together.
Yes.
You're distracted. How are you going to focus on the things you love? If you say you love them, then you shouldn't be distracted.
Yes. And I know my last lesson that I did, I could have dealt with some other things, but I guess we can bring them out right now. And the things that I did want to talk about was the steps to getting rid of distractions. Because remember, our distractions, it takes us away from not just the servitude of being, a good steward of Yah, but it also can take us away from the people who are in our lives, the people who we love, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, and most importantly, we have our teachers, we have our wives, and our sisters, they have their husbands, we have our children. And when we are distracted, it can pull us away from actually focusing on the task at hand, And with my family, I just want to share some things that we have implemented over the last month and things that we have already had for years. One of the things that my wife did was she made sure that there was no phones at the dinner table.
Oh, that's a good one.
No phones. No phones at the dinner table. I think a couple of weeks ago we had brought out my phone, and I was like, "Look, the only reason why we're looking at this because we were looking at an ingredient that was in a food, So it's just like that was the only time that we would touch our phones. We got into the point where we would just not bring it to the table at all,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those things that we can practice so that we can focus on the things that are going on in our lives, especially with our children in school and public schools. It's very important to listen to what they have to say. When they 7-8 hours away from the household and they out there in the world, we want to listen because I know my daughter has said some things before. I'll be like, I'm glad I listened to you because if I didn't, I wouldn't know how to handle certain situations in her life. So one thing I wanted to touch on was to come up with a plan, right?
So just before you get into that, the part about the dinner table, I think we can overlook how simple it is to be taking your focus off the meal.
Yes.
And that meal time is family time.
Yes.
And with eating together, like you said, good conversation can come out. We're more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
We have the opportunity to connect more.
Okay.
And if I'm staring at my screen the whole time, I'm not really there at the table with my family.
Okay. Exactly.
And it could be, how can I say? I guess it, like really, as you were saying, it's that time to reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew up, we ate together.
Yeah.
That was before cell phone, obviously. And dinner time was that time we all looked forward to being together. So I just agree with you that if we were to put the screen down and enjoy conversation and all the things that can come up during it, a dinner or during some sort of family meal. And as Hebrews, that's typically what draws us together.
Yes. It goes deeper.
Yeah.
Being Hebrews, sharing
Oh,
the
yeah.
meal together actually goes deeper than, you know.
Yeah.
And then we
Oh,
look at it then we look at it in the Western world. A meal is very important, you know. So pulling the distractions away from that and focusing on our loved ones is very important. Very, very important.
I mean, you said you had some plans.
Yeah. So I did want to try to touch on one of the things, a couple of things that we have. We have to come up with a plan. If I'm going to say that I'm distracted, and whether it's entertainment, whether it is the smartphone, or whether it's just myself, I have to come up with a plan to get rid of those distractions. And I think the biggest things is the screens. You know, you see now when a child is come out the womb, the first thing you want to do is put a screen in front of them. You know, and it's kind of like that screen is raising them.
And that's the new thing they love.
Yes.
They fall in love with that screen.
Uh-huh.
They get all of their, their brain. I can't remember the name of the hormone, but when you end up getting excited.
The dopamine.
Yeah.
Yes.
It all starts coming from screen time.
Yeah.
Instead of being here with dad or being here with mom,
Dang.
or brother or sister. And how is that really going to be the way you're showing them love? How are you giving them the best of yourself when you put in front of them a distraction?
Yes.
And honestly, it isn't the best of us. Most of the time, we're putting those screens in front of our children because we're too busy.
Okay.
And how much time does it take to have a face-to-face encounter and give our child the best of us?
Yes.
It takes like 25 minutes.
Dang, that's a good point. Very good. And I think our children, they really get affected by it the most. You know, because like you're saying, that real love would be us connecting with them.
Yeah.
Face to face, physical contact. Like my youngest daughter, her love language is physical. She wants me
a backpack.
Yes. Yes. I can literally wear her. Yeah. She's all, she'll be all over me. And he kind of forced me to want to put that screen down, and just to pay attention to her. Because my oldest, she didn't get that, and my oldest, she'd be like, "Oh, Dad just always on his phone."
Yeah.
And that ruined our relationship. So I'm speaking from experience, whereas at the beginning, I had a relationship that was rocky because I was distracted. It wasn't just the phones either. It was other things like video games, watching streaming and all that other stuff. Like all this other stuff took place as well. Yeah. And even when I was going to school, that was a distraction.
Yeah.
So work in school can be a distraction as well. So we have to focus on those things as well, And
growth in there.
Yes, that's the point.
It didn't stay like that. It's 10-year difference between those two stories.
Praise the Most High.
Hallelujah.
That's a deliverance right there that we're trying to get to, And so one thing I want to say was setting boundaries around the technology use. So designating what we would call a no phone zone. So I talked about meals with me and my wife when we do date nights, no phones unless we doing something together. But they kind of force you to use your phone because the menus are on the phone. You got to scan them. Yeah. So some places they do force you to use your phone, but it's like you really want to focus all that time, on your husband or on your wife, and the screen can get in the way. I used to always think that it was weird that as soon as the plate would come, people would take a picture of their food. Yeah. I used to be like, why are we taking pictures of our food? I'm not going for it. I probably did it a couple of times. Yeah, but it wasn't so good. Yeah, exactly. But it's just like I wasn't that type of person to do it every single time, and it's just like I want to live in the moment with the person I'm there with.
Yes, and that honestly is a great way to explain that because we have this culture where I now need to share all of my experiences with someone who isn't here. Why? You're going to be remembered having that phone up to your face instead of being there with the people who are you don't have to take a picture of everything. Yeah, that's the point. Okay. Remember some things because if you think that you're going to go back and look at those photos, you're not. The reality of all that stuff that you're doing through the screen is missing out on an opportunity to be present It's missing on an opportunity to, like what you brought with a menu. There's a whole difference between me looking at the menu versus now I went from looking at the menu to YouTube.
Yeah.
So now I'm at the dinner table. I spent all this time driving out to a restaurant, and here I am with the person or the people I say I love the most. And this opportunity to just order some food became a distraction.
Right.
And I think that really leads me to something I wanted to talk about when it comes down to the phones.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that good things, sometimes these distractions that we have are they're not coming from a set apart place.
Mm.
And if we are people of Yah that are in the ways of Yah, doing the things that are involved with the Most High, being the people who say that we love the Most High, how is it that love led me to this place to where I've lost my focus? And that's where I think sometimes it is that these things that we say that we love are really corrupt.
Mm.
There's a lot of corrupt things, and being distracted and other things can really highlight that. It can really highlight that, okay, why am I choosing not to spend time? Why am I allowing my distraction to get bigger and bigger and bigger? Because sometimes the feeding of our flesh, it lacks the way it lacks.
That's the myself.
We're hungry for it.
Yes.
And unfortunately, what I've learned is that like it says, the eye is never tired of seeing. And guess what? There's more stuff on the internet than you have time in your life to see.
Oh,
You know, and
that's
the
right.
gossip. We're never done listening to the gossip. How is it that I have on my lips praise for the things of the Most High, but what's in my ears is debauchery? You know?
I mean, you did decide to go there.
Yeah, I kind of derailed you a little bit.
No, because that was something that I thought about.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, I'm glad you did go there, because there is some things that I see, and I'm referring to the Hebrew community, our community that's in the faith.
Mm-hmm. You love the Father.
Yes, so we love the Father. We give Him thanks, through His Son Yeshua. But we find ourselves online, spending a lot of time online, doing things, the back and forth.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd be looking at these posts on certain social medias, and I'd be like, how did you have a chance to respond 50 times? I don't have that much time in the day to respond to every single thing that's someone comments. I used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would literally be on my phone, putting hours and hours in
to a post.
Yes.
And
I would consider that work.
Mm.
But that's, in reality, the way I look at it, not everything, but some of those things, it's pain. It brings about more division, the way that I look at it. And if I'm spending all this time dealing with a post that I posted, or I went into someone else's post and I'm going back and forth with them, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, we have unrealistic expectations. I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody makes, and I know more of you know what I'm talking about, but this isn't the case. But somebody puts out a whole video or a comment that completely is false.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's your job. No, it's not my job to correct them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, when it comes down to my post or my comment on someone else's video, is it really going to cause them to see the truth?
Mm-hmm.
And we just got to be honest. It's very rare for someone to just come out and confess their error.
Yes.
So sometimes we think we're going to impact the whole world through one post.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't it be better to have had that time shared or spent doing something that was more productive?
Okay.
Things that were actually going to lead to us getting in a better position in life.
Okay.
We're spending so much time on things that we say we love that don't love us back.
Mm.
And it's a trap.
But that goes to your point, though.
All right.
When you're doing those posts, are you coming with the spirit of love? That's
rare.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Because you can literally go to that post and you can come in the spirit of love.
That's fair.
And you can offer, some advice or some encouragement.
That's
because I'm going to come in this post and I'm going to cut this person up.
Mm-hmm.
But did I try to bandage them up afterwards? Did I try to encourage them in what I'm trying to tell them?
Yeah.
Because if not, then that's when you're going to find yourself spending hours and hours and hours dealing with a post.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was times when I would spend days dealing with one comment or one post that was fake.
Oh yeah, don't let them respond.
Yeah, it's
Don't let it's eating up all of your time.
yes.
Because now you have to. It's like your job to keep this conversation alive.
Uh-huh.
And very rarely it has happened. I'm pretty sure you have had it happen where it does turn around.
Yes.
But someone's all like, all right, I understand. Or we do come to some sort of long distance digital communication agreement. That does happen.
Yes, came.
But the worst of it sometimes, I think we've elevated it to wealth.
Oh, that's good.
We've made it more important than it should be because we live in this age to where we are interacting with strangers. So who's actually living the things they're putting in all this keyboard time for?
That's a good question.
You know,
Yeah.
that's tough, man.
That is.
That's tough. And I think when it comes down to it, like I was saying, are we tolerating this screen age because we think it has more benefit than it actually does?
That's a good question. I think that's a question that a lot of us have to ask ourselves. You know, especially when it comes to showing love to people.
That's gonna last forever.
Yes. Because I had that, like what you said, that situation where I've talked to people and I'd rather do it in like a private chat, but we can, and rather for the world can see.
That's fair.
You know, because I've talked to people and we dealt with certain things. Like I dealt with a brother dealing with, you know, hassles and things like that. And it's just like, I came from a place of love. You know, I wanted the brother to understand. I wanted to gain my brother. I didn't want to lose him.
It was genuine.
Yes.
There was some genuine concern. And sometimes people do go to the internet before they go to anybody else. So like finding someone who cares genuinely can be a good thing.
And I've also told people, like, if I talk to people, it'd be, you know, stick with what your teacher is telling you. You know,
language.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever your teacher's teaching you, but this is the way I see it. I'm not here to change your mind, especially when you have a teacher, you know. So it's just one of those things where it can lead to distractions. Like I said, I spend days dealing with comments, dealing with posts, you know, and I just find myself now I don't have the time. I rather put that time towards my family, you know. But I feel like we don't have that much time in the day, you know. Because by the time we get home, it's about like 5 o'clock, and in 3 hours they got to get ready and go to bed. So out of a 24-hour day, I spend 3, maybe 4 hours with my family, you know.
And that's the truth of it.
Yes.
And that last little bit where we said we want some me time. What do we end up doing with our me time? Screened out. I know I do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I know it. I know it's a fact. And the thing is, sometimes the me time that we want, it could be spent in a better way. It could be spent in a better way. And I'm not like denouncing it because some people do want to read a book.
Yes.
Like you mentioned before, there's a good way to use it, and then there's a way that doesn't lead us the way we want to go.
Yes.
And there's a scripture that made me think about this topic. It's in James. Because when I was thinking about what we would say, I was like, how do we really get here sometimes? And then how can we connect it to how we say we love one another or we love the Father? Well, there is a verse, and it's in the first chapter of James, and it talks about being enticed. So it's in James chapter 1, verse 13. It says, let no one say he's enticed by Elohim, for Elohim entices no one with evil matters. And but each one is enticed when he is drawn away by his own desires and trapped. And that's what I was thinking, is like sometimes the place we want to get to may be the worst place to go. So where are these desires and, you know, our desire for the things we say we love or the things that we say that we're interested in? How are we going to say that it's someone else's fault that you ended up somewhere you weren't supposed to be because of a screen? You know, we lead ourselves there. We get ourselves trapped there. And we want to blame the Father. We want to blame everybody else. It's like, and I like the way Maury's always saying it, we always cry for help with a crash, but we don't talk about that we were distracted while we were driving. We don't want to talk about, oh man, I was neck deep in this YouTube video, and all of a sudden, dang, life has completely upended. And I'm going to say, well, it was the enemy, or it was you. Like if we're going to be the people who say that we will show our love through kindness, through service, through giving our best. Like I keep going over it, giving our best self. Is your best self a screen in your face?
Mhm.
Because if that's the case, then why do we keep ending up in places we don't want to be because of this screen? And we're so distracted. We're not in a place of love. And how can we be filled with the Ruach doing some of those things that happen on the other side of the screen?
Mhm.
So we already know, like you can't. And it's just like what got me there was that we're led in our own, we're enticed by these things, which may be evil matters. And we have to be honest that some of our interests that come through screens, are they clean? Everything that's cool may not be clean.
Okay. It's a fact. I mean, I think that's kind of how we grew up in a way, because we still had our screens too. You know, it just wasn't this small.
Nah,
You know,
it came with a wire attached.
yeah, it was bigger. You know, it was attached to that as well, and you know, to the point we used to eat dinner in front of it.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's just like we're all are affected by it. You know, every generation is affected by it some way or somehow. You know, because I don't want this to make it seem like we're beating up on a certain
Nah, we
piece.
still eat TV. We'll do a movie or watch a show at my house
Yeah,
while we eat.
and when we did it, it was different because I don't know how you do it, but my wife, she pulled us away from it, and the way that we did it was we would eat and then we'd just sit there and just watch TV until it's time to go to bed, and that was the end of our day, you know. And as for me, I didn't mind it at that time, but after seeing how our family has shifted, because we've had some tough conversations at the dinner table. You know, things that needed to come out, things that needed to be said, and we couldn't do that if we was watching the screen. Now,
True.
are there times where it could be okay? I wouldn't take that away from anyone. You know, especially like on first day. You know, we eat our breakfast together at the dinner table, but we eat lunch. We usually right there at the screen. You know, because that's our bonding time. Because watching a movie together, watching a show together, that is bonding
We
time.
all think that's funny.
Yeah,
And then sometimes it leads to some interesting conversation.
exactly.
It really
Stuff that come up today on the TV, I'll be like, "What is that?" You know, and my children, they'll point things out too.
Yes.
And it opens up things.
Yeah.
You know,
It becomes a quiz time.
exactly. So I don't completely put, you know, bashing on screens and we shouldn't be doing it.
It's a boundary.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, you know, I said before in the lesson that not all entertainment is equal.
True.
Some entertainment is there because, but for example, I have an app on my phone. Now, some phones do this automatically, but I actually downloaded a different app. This is another plan that you can use. And it shows how much time I'm spending on certain apps. I look at YouTube and YouTube say 4 hours. So what were you doing on YouTube for 4 hours? Well, I was watching a video about how they excavated the city of David. You know, I was watching a lesson. I was doing something that was productive. Exactly. Yeah. So am I doing that all the time? No. Did I do that the whole 4 hours? Most likely not. But if I spend majority of my time on there gaining some type of information that I can actually apply, then I can't put that in the same category. Whereas if I'm watching a restoration video for hours, you know, and I love restoration videos, but to sit there and watch it for hours, you know, that's unproductive, you know, because some entertainment that is there, it can help boost productivity. And we know this, you know, we can watch certain things. We can, you know, go into that, what you call me time or leisure time, and it can help you in certain areas. So not all screen time is, not screen time. Not all entertainment is equal. And the same thing with phones. Because if you see me on my phone, I could be reading scriptures, you know? And I talked about it before, like all the technology we got. We literally have encyclopedias, huge bookshelves are on our phone now.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that is something that we have to take into account.
And that's what is really, I think, what's at the crux of these two ideas of being distracted, what is and what is love, is regaining those things that we're losing.
Mm.
Because we're really in a time right now where the world has redefined what love really is, to a point to where the next generation has sympathy towards confusion.
Okay.
And we have and then we have, on the other hand, we're so tired, we're so exhausted from being in this confused place that we just throw entertainment at all of our problems.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that love? And I went and looked at some simple things that take time, and one of them was going on a walk. I know recently going on walks has been a big uptick in our community.
Yes.
Early morning walks or whatever. But so I just looked at this. It says the average person can walk a mile in 15 to 22 minutes. You know how much time you're going to regain going on a walk, being productive, for one, because obviously healthy. And if you go take a loved one with you, now you got an opportunity to do what? To talk about what you see. And that's one thing I loved, that often when we do read our scriptures, Messiah was just preaching about what he saw.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine what you're going to go out and see when you could just go out on a walk and you get to see the way the Father's creation works and admire it and spend time. That's one of the most crucial things we need to do with our family, because we're losing hours and hours and hours being distracted and entertained versus something as simple. And sometimes it's the thing, we have more energy to watch 4-hour-long episodes of a show than to get up and just go walk for 20 minutes.
Yes.
That's a problem. How is that love? How is it love? Who are we loving if we can enjoy being that distracted? And now, think about the comfort we need, because sometimes we throw problems at the screen too. So when I need emotional comfort, I go watch the show. Why can't I go talk to the person? It doesn't say if I have something to get to my brother, go talk to my brother.
Okay.
No, let me avoid him and go turn on the tunes, or go turn on some sort of drama TV. I'm not plugged in. I'm not sure but the idea is why go confront things? Why be wise? Why come to maturity? Mature people don't avoid conflicts that need to happen for growth.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go and I avoid all of my emotional, and this is the other thing too, pouring our heart out over social media. Why is it that way?
Don't go that way.
Why is it that way? How is it that I can't say these things to the people I spend every day with?
Yes.
So when it comes down to us saying that we love one another, why is it? And this one was good too. It said for quality time, the average American family spends only 37 minutes a day together.
Okay.
That's the time of that walk. We used to do that after the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
When we come home, it was like, actually, it's before we started going to an assembly. We would, as soon as the Sabbath got ready to close and the sky got beautiful, getting ready to change colors, we would go on a walk. And it was amazing. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. They talk about Sabbath day journey. I don't know if we went too far, but that was just something that was amazing. We spent time together. We talked. We heard the bees. The birds and the trees and all that stuff. It's amazing. I think outside is always way more interesting. That's just me. But I'm just saying, look how simple it is for us to regain that time together.
Mm-hmm.
And just as simple as something going on a walk can really show someone that you love them. In fact, if we go and look at it from a scriptural aspect, how many times were things important that happened on a walk?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't the Messiah reveal himself to his disciples on a walk?
Yes. Dang.
So he was hiding himself at first, but towards the end of it, they're like, man, sound like we was talking with the minister just now, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's in that in Acts? I don't remember where that is. But the idea is that we have these opportunities. No, it's not Acts. It's like Matthew.
Yes, but if you got the other one, the one I think you also referring to was Shaul when he appears to Shaul.
That as well. He was on a ride.
Yes.
Yeah. Or the eunuch.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. There's many of these things have happened when people go on journeys. So imagine what can happen if you just go on a walk and just pray as you walk. You can regain so much time.
You sit by the way, right? If you walk by the way.
As you walk by the way, you lie down, you rise up. Yes.
You praising the Father.
Yeah. We don't have to make it as formal in that situation, but I do believe it's still good. Your mind's focused on the things of the heaven.
Dang. And that right there, I think that right there too you can get into something else. You just open something else up. Where are our thoughts at? Ooh, am I distracted by just thinking about work all day? Am I thinking about sports? Am I thinking about the TV show?
The job, man.
Yeah, where it's my mind is 90. I'm just gonna throw a number. It's at least 60% of my day geared around the Father, thinking about the Father. Thinking about the things that He has done, thinking about His Word.
How you can do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, can I do love my neighbor right now in this moment? Can I confess to my shortcoming in this moment? Because sometimes it's hard because we're so full of ourselves.
Mhm.
And part of that loving thing is the hardest part is dying to yourself. Overcoming you. Overcoming you is at the root of it all because we keep making ourselves the main character in every situation we're in.
The main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
It shouldn't be that way.
exactly.
We should be support. We should be help. We should be in this. We talked about shadows and light. We talked about if you stand in someone else's shadow, then who are you following?
Mhm.
But when it comes to the idea of serving the Father, you should always be behind the Messiah.
Right.
And when we're loving one another, that should show up more often when I'm impatient at work. Just today, that even happened. I had to look at myself. I'm like, man, I am very impatient right now.
Mhm.
I need to figure this out because I am not where I should be as a servant of the Messiah.
Oh man, that's good. And I had a situation today that happened at work with me. You know, it could have been worse. So I just praise the Father that He gave me time to think about that situation before I was able to respond. And everything that we learned from the scriptures, we learned on the Moray is showing love to people. Because I could have easily I'm at work, I could have got distracted and then get a chance to think about it. But I took that time to think about the situation. And it's like, there's a conflict going on with me in this person.
Yes.
And I'm glad that who the person was because they don't like conflict. They're like, no, we need to talk about this. Let's talk. And if someone in the world can do that, then we as Hebrews should be able to do that as well. So
No, brother, it hurts so much. I don't want to bring it back.
you got to deal with it. You know what's crazy?
Let's pretend it never happened.
You know that you say that because that's the way I used to be, and that's the way I thought that it should be. But it's like when I was able to put myself in a position to apologize for something that I did wrong, I felt better.
Yes, both sides.
Years ago, I never felt that way. I felt like I was a coward for apologizing, but we know that's not the way that it goes. Being a servant of Yah is all about showing humility. And let the Father exalt us. But
Yes.
there are too many times when we try to exalt ourselves. And just remaining humble, keeping that humble mindset. And I praise the Father that I was able to do that today. And it was just such a beautiful thing, brother, just to see, the things that we learn from the scriptures play out, because that's the walk.
Yes.
When the things that you read in the scriptures and you truly apply it to your life and you see it play out in front of you, that's something to meditate on because you want to do that again. You don't want to drop the ball like, man, last time I handled this pretty good, but why did I mess up this time?
That's what you just said is key. Because if I've forgotten, let's put it this way. Are we practicing these things? We're just reading them because really what it comes down to is that if I never put it into practice, I'll not know what I'm forgetting. I don't know what I should be thinking. It's just not happening. And I like what you just said because if I've been exposed to somebody living out a mature example, then that means I'll have something I can imitate. And I think often we don't have that way to imitate something wise or to show what it looks like to love someone or overcome a difference because we're too busy learning from the screens. And are we living that out? Are we living out that? Because we already know the screen life is dramatic. People love to argue, and that's really what it is, just watching people one up one another, put each other down, and disrespect one another. And guess what? That's what we receive. So how much better is it for someone to have the experience like what you just had to where we had a genuine conflict? Conflict is not bad. Conflict shows closeness. Conflict shows community because we're not all the same. It's good for us to go through some of these things. It's good for us to say, oh man, you kind of bumped into me a little too hard right there. Oh man, I wasn't thinking, oh, forgive me, please. And to be genuine about our apology. So back to the example part is that being in our community, we get to see it all. We get to see it all. We get to get under each other's skin. I think that's another thing too. We're being in the screen world, we're so superficial. We don't mind being an inch away when we're screen to screen, but as soon as we get in the same room, you know, so we're so used to social distancing, if you will, that we don't actually want to get close. We don't want to be vulnerable. And I'm not saying you gotta tell everybody your dark secrets, but we gotta be close enough to each other to where we actually know each other. How can we ever truly show the love of the Messiah? And like I was talking about last week, Messiah was confronting this woman at the well. I think it's like, what is it like? Is it John 4? Yeah, maybe one of those. I could have pulled it up. Out of all times I have the scripture up right here, I could have. Are you gonna grab it? Is Matthew 4? Oh, yes, I think it's one of the 4. Yeah, let's put it down. Let's see it there. Maybe it's the other one.
Said John.
Mm-hmm.
But you go ahead.
But yeah, if you want to fact check me, fact check. Go ahead and put a fact check up there. No, said it was actually Luke, you know. But the reality is, here he is, the Messiah is confronting this woman on her personal life, who she is, with maritally. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. It is John 4. So one thing I loved about that encounter is there were lots of things going on. For one, the talking about the thing that's going on in Mount Gerizim. She's like, our fathers have always been here. But when it came down to getting to the point, what I liked about that is even though, like I said last week, they had disagreements, she was still able to respect him. Why is it today that when we get into a place of disagreement, respect leaves the room? As I say in the chat, it's gone. It's gone. All sorts of honor has left the room. All sorts of patience has left the room. All sorts of true love, giving them your best self, even in conflict, is gone the moment you get under my skin. Is that the way it should be? If anybody should have showed us that, it should have been a woman that had 5 husbands that got confronted on it by the Messiah. I mean, that sounds like a pretty embarrassing place to be.
Yeah, that's a stab to the chest right there. So that hurts. But she was still able to humble herself in that situation. And you got to ask yourself, how did the Messiah, the way I asked myself, how did the Messiah approach her?
Exactly.
Was it out of love, or was I trying to bring out my scriptures and book you down? What was it? And we know how, from the scriptures and from the called the Gospels, the Messiah walked a certain way. This way that he walked should be something that we imitate. And it's just the problem is that we try to take certain things and twist it.
Yeah,
and we can't twist these things. We got to understand where he was coming from, especially from a Hebraic standpoint, because a lot of times we try to put this Western mindset on the Hebrew scriptures. Everyone's Hebrews here that we're reading about, So it's very important for us to understand that if I truly love someone, I would never intentionally disrespect them.
Yeah, even more so in conflict. Because what he was saying, what authority did he have to say it? Of course, we're dealing with so many different social issues between the Shomeroni and the Yehudim, that clearly that's the same contrast the Messiah even used to explain his point. He's like, yeah, y'all people over here, y'all don't really get it. But over here, we do. In fact, deliverance comes from us. And he's making a very valid point. He's like, y'all have lost your way. And then even in this, she was elated to hear what he had to say, to the point to where she wanted to go get other people to listen to him. When's the last time you've ever corrected someone, brought some good truth out, had a deep conversation with someone, and then wanted to get more people to talk with you? That's a love right there. That's on another level. That to me should be the way it is. How are we joyful to be corrected? How are we joyful to receive the direction in the way we should go?
It's hard.
It's
difficult. That's the flesh gets in the way. Especially because of the way that we were raised. Yeah, for me, I speak for myself that the way that the Messiah talked to that woman, you know, I was taught that that's disrespect, you know, and then how is correction disrespect? Why are we being taught and being brought up to practice correction as disrespect? You know, correction should be something like you said. It should be joy. Now, initially, it's not. It's going to hurt, but later on, when it comes about, you know, when we get a chance to really sit and think about it, it's like, man, you know, we should be praising the Father for that correction. We should be thanking my brother and sister for that correction because it's something that's supposed to lead us down a righteous path. You know, and if I can't be corrected, then it's going to be hard for me to be around you. And since I can't be around you, it's going to be hard for me to love you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those things that if we as a people don't take the time to really examine how we go about dealing with each other, it's going to be hard for us to really show the world who we are.
That we're hid.
You can't show the world who you are. You can't, which, like you said, we are servants of the Father through Yeshua. People would know us by how we treat each other, how we love each other. And if I'm not showing no love, then who am I really serving? You know?
And that's the key. How are you ever going to teach anyone how is it ever going to be a place to where you could demonstrate it if you've never seen it?
Yeah, it's true. And I'm glad you said that. Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. Saul says, become imitators of me as I'm also imitate Messiah. So we overlook the fact somebody on the planet after the death, resurrection, and ascension of the Messiah was saying he's imitating through this individual. Do we have people like that in our life? Because if we don't, how are we going to love one another as the Father is loving us? How am I ever going to show that love if I don't have anyone to model it? And if we're not modeling it, then how are we saying we're doing it? And who's imitating us? Because they say imitation is the highest form of flattery. So how else are you going to love me back besides love me in my weak place? Love me in my low place, in my embarrassed place, in my place of correction. And I think it was even in the teaching from the Sabbath, it was said correction doesn't feel, it's in Hebrews. It was talking about how correction doesn't feel good at the time, but afterward. So that means sometimes these conversations, you can hold your peace, as they say. You don't have, if you can't.
That's so true.
Hold it up.
I know for me, there are times when I have to say something. But then there are times when it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Sometimes it's more obvious than others.
Yes, it is. Because there's been so many times when I would talk to brothers and sisters or, you know, my family, you know, my wife or whoever it is, and I will say this is what it is, and they would disagree. And I just leave it alone. And then come back, you know, days, weeks, or months later, they say the same thing I was saying.
Yeah, like
so, you know what it is. So it's just like, I'm glad you're there.
Yeah,
I don't have to be like, I told you so. You don't have to do that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So it's just one of those things where it's just like, I'm glad you got to that point where we can see eye to eye.
Yeah. Or you say it and it's not heard. But then I say it and they're like, yeah, just what you said, Sid. It was like, you know, should have done said it. Whatever. And, you know, that happens all the time. Yeah. That's all the time. I'll say something and then you say, like, just like Jedediah said, it's like, I just told you that. But when it's all said and done, it was heard.
Yeah, that's the point. You know, and the worst thing that I could do or anyone else can do is to be like, I said that.
Yeah, you can take the glory for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And we should be giving glory to the Father, you know. And then that's when you're in one of those cases where you're trying to exalt yourself. We don't have to do that.
And that is a huge distraction because then it takes all the focus off of the Most High and how he can use any vessel he desires, how much more so a righteous one, and now it's on you. Okay. And we actually have a story, I think it's in Acts, somebody died doing that. Like, so I don't think that's a good idea. That is not a good idea.
Yeah.
The particular individual, I think it's that he became like worm eaten right in front of everybody. That's terrible.
Yeah, let's continue to praise the Father.
Hallelujah. It really is about that. People talk about how the lesser light, they call the moon, has no light of its own, but reflects the light of the greater. And that's a reality we should have as well. We should be just reflecting of the one who delivered us, who had patience with us, who showed us love, who helped us overcome distractions. Because that's what a freed person in Messiah really is. We overcome the world. That's the biggest distraction of it all.
That makes a lot of sense. Because when you look at, when you look at Rosh Kadesh, or, we said a new moon, it starts out dark, and then that first light come in. That light is starting to get greater and greater and greater.
Bigger and bigger.
And that's why, when the analogy that you use makes sense with the luminaries that are in the sky. They there for so many reasons. We don't bow down and worship to them, but it makes sense.
It's just the sign.
It helps us to make sense of things, and what you just said makes sense. That greater light shines on a smaller light. It gives it light. Without that light, it'd just be dark up there. You wouldn't know what it is.
And how often is it that we need to see? So the idea is, like, if I'm seeing reflected light, I wouldn't know the difference. It's just light.
Good. Good. But this is going well. This is going so much better than I thought, because we bring in two different lessons together right now.
Yeah.
And it was just like, how is this going to go? And in case someone don't know, me and this brother spend a lot of time on the phone.
That is true.
And I know our wives would be like, yeah, distractions.
What is? That's another. Oh man, why did you go there? No, there's a difference though.
It is.
And I know Maury's gonna bring it up because we maybe not be saying it in the right way. But there's sometimes where you need, I guess it's like, as they say, shooting fish in a barrel. Like, you need to see where it's at. Like, is this an easy concept? Am I on target? Where am I at with this concept? And sometimes the best training ground is with your brothers, as you will, sparring and going through some of the toughest situations you have in life, and that can really help you overcome distractions. Because a meaningful conversation can be just a few minutes or a few hours.
What we do.
Yeah. But at the same time, even good things can become a distraction. That's true.
Yeah.
Your hobby can become a distraction. Work can become a distraction. And all the things you say you love can take focus off the other thing you say you love. And I think sometimes I like to look at it as being filled. And if you're filled, then you have the opportunity to pour out. But once you get empty, you have no use. You need to be refilled.
Yeah.
And an empty vase fills up no one. So we need time to recharge. And sometimes those times you get with your brothers or the sisters, get with their sisters, that's a good recharge time. The extension cord means nothing laying on the floor. You got to plug it in. And if we're plugged into the source of the Most High, then you already know we're going to be powered up. And you can't power up people if you're dead.
So true. Man, that's good. And that's what we're trying to do here on this Power Up tonight, and bring forth these two topics.
Yeah, scripture, I think.
I'll run that one that you brought out earlier. Right. That 1 Corinthians 11. And one become imitators of me, as I also Messiah, which is a good. And that brings back to what you were saying, because in my profession, I'm a school teacher. I teach PE. And the way they train us is that no matter what we do with our students, we have to model it. We have to yes, good. Everything that we do, we model. We show them so that way they can have a visual representation of what it should look like. Now, they're children, so they're not going to get it exactly how you want it, but it takes time, and you got to help them build that muscle reputation. You think about when you go to the gym, you work that muscle out. That muscle was getting worked out, and you're doing something that is over and over and over again. Because if I go to the gym on Sunday, on first day, and then I wait 2 weeks to go to the gym, I'm not going to benefit from it. I got to put that into practice. I got to come up with a plan. If I want to grow my bicep, I got to work it out this day, give it a break, work it out this day. And not only that, I'm not only going to work it out the same way. I'm going to find new ways to work it out. I got to have different ways to work out that muscle, because to help it grow, and that's the way we want to do when it comes to serving the Father and loving our brothers. That is a practice. If you don't practice loving your brother, you would it'd be hard for you. You can't just wake up one day and be like, I love my brother. You got to feel that way. You can feel that way, but your actions would show if you truly love your brother or not. You know?
I like what you just said about doing the same. You're trying to achieve the same result, good result, by doing different things.
Yes.
And that could just give me opportunity to talk about the phone one more time.
Yeah.
Because for some people, that is all you're going to get. Is that you're going to be on the phone with them for 15 minutes to encourage them, or 20 minutes, or knowing if we're talking to Michelle, hours. But the idea is that if it's a good thing, then there must be other facets to it.
Okay.
And I think people throw out that whole idea of like love languages and all that. The whole point behind that is that you can show, how do you say, a connected love to someone in a way they want to receive it.
Yes, that's good.
And I think that's something that we're often overlooking, is that love, or where I want to segue to what you were just making a point of, to me, was doing that good thing over time, would be loyalty. We're overlooking the fact that if I'm truly focused and I'm dedicated, it's over time. Like, my witness is me. I don't have to say anything. I'm there on time. My hands are picking up the wood. My hands are on the axe, chopping the wood. Like, when you see me doing. You don't see me standing around. You don't see me idle. You see me focused. You see me a part of it. And I remember a long time ago, I remember I was talking with Morey, and he was all like, what the good makings of a leader is that you can clean a toilet.
Oh man, that's good.
Like, everybody thinks you could rip up scriptures, or that you can chop the word up and dissect and remember the address to everything you're saying in the scripture. But can you clean a toilet? Can you change a diaper? Or is that something? Are these tasks below you, and you always push them off on others? So if I'm a loyal person, I'm a person who follows direction even when my master is not around. And I think that's what I've learned from the model of the loyal, faithful servant. And my favorite example is Abraham's servant. He was given a task to go find a wife for his son, for Abraham's son. That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah,
and Messiah would say,
man, that's good.
John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments. Well,
Yeah.
to me, that was proof that servant loved Abraham.
Yeah.
Because he asked him to go find this wife and this individual, even to the point where he prayed that it was the one the father wanted it to be. And he brought her back just as he was directed. How often that we can't just be faithful to what we were directed because we get distracted in the middle. Or because we can't show loyalty because we got too many issues with people, and I just don't really trust anybody. Like, you can't overcome it unless you just decide to trust.
Exactly.
You got to choose to step out on faith and to really walk it out, because just talking about it is no proof. You got to be loyal over this journey. This is an exercise to become a master. You get 70 years to do it. At minimum, we should hope. I'm shooting for the most. But the idea is, like, this discipleship is your whole life. You have a 70-year discipleship. But thinking that you're going to become the individuals are going to become this flawless individual, just when you came to belief last year, 4 years ago, 7 years ago, you just now began to practice wisdom. So let it grow.
I think that I guess when we look at it, everything you just said is on point. That practice part, and how it takes time. But we have to understand that Shaul wasn't given the Ruach, and he was out there, going right away.
No, sir. He sat down.
He sat down for some years, and that's what it takes. When you are able to humble yourself in this thing and say, I have a lot to learn.
Yeah. That wasn't it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And knowing when you put yourself in that position, you say, I got stuff to learn. I need to learn something. You're going to be a lot slower to speak than you normally were. It's going to be, and it's hard not to, because we get that fire in us because we've learned something new, or what we think is new. It's new to us. We want to share it. We want to give it to people. And that's okay. But I think that it's best to learn how to give it to people first. because I've seen that. Whereas I would think this is the way I should give it to someone, and then I turn and look at the way that someone else do it. I'll be like, I'm doing this wrong. I'm all the way wrong. I'm not doing it right. They're doing it right. You know, even if the person that they're talking to didn't receive it, but you can hear it, the tone in their verse. You hear that love.
Yeah.
You hear that concern. You hear that the way that person is going about it in such a wholesome way that everybody around can't help but to just be like, okay, let me listen to what this guy or what this woman has to say. You know, but like I said, for me, it wasn't like that at first. I was trying to chop them down.
You bring out that Marine knife.
I was trying to chop them down because I thought that's the way it should go, and that's the way I've seen others do it. But when I got to the people that were close to me, I learned very quick, like, that's not the way to do it. There's a way to do it, and the Messiah has laid down a blueprint with that, you know?
Yeah. And that's the key. And I think just to land the plane here is that as we go through this journey with the Father, we're going to overcome. You know, there should be, we should overcome a lot. I shouldn't still be suffering from the things that were revealed to me in my life last year. Now, all things, as you said, being normal, some things can be harder for an individual to overcome.
Hey, that is true.
Some things may be deeper rooted, and there is such things as like trauma and past experience. But my belief is that in Messiah, there isn't anything that can separate us from becoming who he wants us to be. And that's the idea. If we're going to be those who love like he loves and give our lives up like he gave up like he gave up his life, then we're going to have to overcome ourselves. And that means we can't be our biggest distraction. And I know a lot of times we really are. Because we feel overlooked. We feel left out. But when it's all said and done, if you give yourself, you'll always be doing the best. And sometimes you do need to power up yourself, encourage yourself. So that good time where you said self-examination, and realize humility is not about being in the spotlight. So there are a lot of lonely moments when it comes to the walk. But at the same time, if you are with those who are yoked to the Messiah, you'll never be alone. And whatever you've lost in this world, you needed to.
And that's the important part of being around Yah's people. Because some self-correction is there. But the correction at times need to come from outside sources, from yourself. And that is usually a good, wholesome, loving Hebraic community. You know, being around a community is so important, and a community that understands how to truly walk in the things of the Father, because it's been times that I've had people within our community who would just step out the way to go do things. I'd be like, I can't believe you're doing that for me. You know, I had a sister come over to my house. She had one mission. She decided to do everything else. I was like,
I heard about that.
I was like, man, I walked into my house like, what did you do? You know?
Yes.
And it was a blessing, because that's what it means to really be a servant to the Father. You know, when you serve the Father, you can't help but to serve Yah's people. You know, and it's always done out of love. But it's just, hopefully we get to that point where we're not going to let the distractions get in the way, and we're going to continue to show love to our loved ones, our household, the people in our community, and to those who are not in covenant. And we continue to walk this walk, you know, blamelessly. The path is narrow, but we can get through it.
Amen. And as the Messiah said, the world will know your mind by your distraction or what? No, by your love for one another.
There we go.
I think we can do that.
Hey, praise Yah. This has been a good power up. So hopefully someone was encouraged by it. And
I was built up.
Give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. Hallelujah. In the name of His Son, Yeshua HaMashiach.
Amen.
Shalom.